way in terms of an overview of a little bit of everything of what Dirk does, the still whites, still reds, and some ports as well. I won't waste any more time speaking myself and just introduce Dirk himself and get everyone started. Thank you again for coming.
So should we start pouring?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to start with the whites, and then we'll and the Blanco.
Yeah, it's just we could use that in the white wine glass.
Perfect.
And we can then put the Koshi
Into the perfect.
I'll keep them on this side of the table.
Do you want me to have it?
No, there's two bottles.
Probably not.
It's super fun.
David. There's two.
That's a little crowded. We got new chairs and they're very big.
Mama, that's great.
Thank you. I had nothing to do.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to this seminar. The idea is quite simple, that I was told that you are all experts on Portuguese wines, that you know already everything. But if you have any sorts of questions, feel free to ask. If you are shy and you think your question is stupid, it's no problem. I have many stupid answers. So let's sort of create here a dialogue. Niepoort is a family business established in 1842. I'm the fifth generation. I look Dutch. I have a Dutch passport, but I don't really feel Dutch. I feel Portuguese. He is more Portuguese than Dutch, whatever that means. And we used to be a négociant house. That means we used to buy the port from small growers. And after the harvest, we would ship it down to Vila Nova de Gaia, age the wines, blend it, and sell it. Since I started working with my father in '87, a few things have changed. We don't buy any port anymore from anybody. We vinify everything ourselves. We do buy grapes from growers, but everything else is made by ourselves. The other big difference is that when I started, Douro was famous for port and nothing else really, except the most famous Portuguese red wine was always from Douro, called Barca Velha. It was something that was a little bit like Penfolds range. Someone made a great wine in the 50s in the Douro. It was only made in good years, and it was rare, but nobody else made anything good in the Douro. So when I started working with my father in '87, I obviously started making wine, trying to make wine, but it was difficult. Nobody really helped my ideas. Everybody was sort of laughing at me, and it was a bit of a struggle. But times change, and now it's obvious and a normal thing to do wine in the Douro. I started here in California. I made a stage in Switzerland. I studied something called economics, and that was not really the thing I liked, but I did it. But what really changed my life was working with a company that had a distribution of wines. And there were two people in this company who, for whatever reason, they liked me, and they always insisted, invited me to do tastings, taught me everything they knew. And so I started really getting more and more interested. And then in '86, I came to California to do a stage at Cuvaisan. So my job was cleaning tanks. I had no idea about how to make wine, but it was very helpful. The winemaker then was not really very helpful for me. He used my work, but he would never explain me anything. But at that time, Cuvaisan was making wine for one other company. And those two winemakers were extremely nice to me, and they spent all the time and would explain me why things were done that way. And I would ask him from time to time, so what do I drink today? And they would say, well, you should buy a bottle of this or that. So I would go out and buy a bottle and get to know more and more Californian wines. And so the experience was extremely good, and for me, coming to California is always something quite emotional. There should be here Tom Pelter, and Tom Pelter owns the Calistoga wine store, and he invited me for dinner one day, and it was a big mistake for him, because at the end of the evening he asked me, so where do you live? And I said, well, in the van outside. So I was sort of the guarding dog at Cuvaisan. I slept in the van, I used the shower at the winery, so I was just guarding the winery, really. And it was winter, it was becoming cold. And so he said, well, you can't stay over the winter in the car, so you can stay here. So I stayed, I think, 7 months or something like that. So it was very special for me, and it is always special for me to come back to this place. Well, we're talking about the man. This is the man. Hi, brother. So, when I was leaving California in '87, beginning of '87, someone asked me, so, I think it was Gary Adams, I'm not sure. He asked me, so, you're going back, so will you be making wine in the Douro? And I said, sure, I think I'm going to be making ports. And he said, no, how about red wine? And I said, I don't know, nobody really makes wine there, but I think I will try. So what are you going to do? And I said, well, I think my first wine is going to be a Monster, and maybe in 25 years I'll be making something fine and elegant and more sophisticated. And he said, but why, if you want to make a fine, elegant wine, why don't you just do it? And I said, because I don't have a clue about what a fine wine is, and the second thing, I surely don't know how to do it. And you know, looking back at this and looking at what we are doing today, the first wine I made was called Robustus, and going back to nobody being helpful, I made it. It was a big wine, very extracted, dark color, a little bit, pretty much undrinkable in its youth. And I was in Australia, and my father called me, and I'm sorry for the words, but that's how he called me, without saying hello, nothing. He said, your wine is shit. I said, hello, Daddy. Nice to hear you. How are you? Well, your wine stinks. I said, okay, what does our blender? Blender is a very important person in our company. I'll come back to it. What does he say? And I said, well, he says the wine is stinky. So I got a bit worried and said, I'll call you later. And I phoned our blender, and I said, look, and by the way, my father said also, by the way, I bought a pipe of red wine. My father never bought a pipe of red wine for himself, so it was obviously something against me. And so I spoke to the blender, Zeze, and I said, look, my father says the wine is stinky. And he says, yeah, it's stinking. And I said, what's the matter? I said, nothing, it's good. The wine is going through the malolactic, so normal. I said, yeah, so everything is okay? Sure. what about this wine my father bought a pipe of? And he says, it's a small wine, it's okay for drinking. He says, so everything is fine. Yeah, okay. By a few months later, I came back, and when I came back, my father gave 4 pipes to the workers to drink. So out of 5 pipes I had, there was 1 left. And shortly after that, I had a tasting with some important winemakers from the trade. And they all laughed at me and said the wine was undrinkable, it was too dark, it was uncommercial, it was too tannic. So it was a disaster. So basically, I came back to the lodge and said to my taster, look, nobody can touch this wine except you and me. Certainly don't allow my father next to it, near to it. And we'll bottle it someday, and we'll, my son, which was born in 92, he was already born, and I said, look, my son, when he's 18, he can do whatever he wants, he can throw it away or drink it or whatever. Actually, I was telling this story, and my son was in the crowd, and after the tasting, my son came to me, hey, Papi, where's my wine? I said, what wine? Oh, you know, the 19 Augustus. And I said, you know, it's just a way of saying. I said, no, I have 35 witnesses who heard that it's my wine. And I decide, I'm 18 now, so I decide what I want to do with it. Anyway, the wine is very good these days. We never sold it, so we have some bottles. And so like Michael Broadman says, it's the Latour of Portugal and blah, blah, blah. The good thing is it's quite a mythical wine in Portugal. And the best thing is for me not to show it to anybody, because that way it keeps a mythical wine. It's usually the best thing. If you start understanding it, then it might be a problem. Anyway, so we started making wine in 91 that we sold, called Redoma. And the white wine we started in 95. A lot of things have changed. The conditions under which we used to work were very bad. Our conditions now are very good. So let's start with the first wine. Now, I know the first question is always, what is the variety, or what are the varieties? Many. So there are many varieties in it. Why? It's not because I just blended the varieties. It's we work with very old vines, and the old vines were planted with many varieties mixed. It sounds a bit strange nowadays, but all over Europe 120 years ago, that's how it used to be, even in Burgundy, even in Bordeaux, and so on. Tradition was to co-plant different varieties. The main variety here is Rabigato, but there is probably another 12, 13, 14 different varieties. The wine is grown on schist. The Douro has almost only schist, and the yields here are sort of something like between 15 and 20 hectoliters hectare, which it's about half of that per acre. It's barrel fermented. The thing we do is we don't use anything in the winemaking except a little bit of sulfur. So literally, this is very easy to make. The wine, the grapes are pressed, it goes into a stainless steel tank. It's kept overnight, and the next day it's racked into the barrels, and each barrel starts fermenting whenever it wants. And after 10 months, we just take it out, whatever we want to, and blend it and bottle it.
So were these white wines, before you started making them and commercializing them internationally, were they drank in the domestic market, or?
No, they were mostly made into port. The Douro, the interesting thing about the Douro Valley is it is a very complicated valley. So while usually you have one vineyards that are south, a little bit east and west, in the Douro we have everything. We have a lot of north-facing vineyards. Vineyards usually are like 200 meters difference in height. We have vineyards going from 80 to 800 meters. And we have like 85 different varieties in the lower. So it's a big mess in many ways. We do know which are the great vineyards for port, but we are learning more and more about the other vineyards for wines, white or red. And in my opinion, it's very clear that the best vineyards for port are not at all the best for making red wine. Unless you want to make something for Mr. Parker, you want to make a wine like most of you or some of you like a lot, 15.5 alcohol and 200% blue wood, and it's very inky and dark, and it's very easy to make. But this is not really what I'm looking for. So clearly, for making wines that are less heavy and finer, we use the vineyards which are in higher altitude, and a lot of them north facing. And in the white wines, obviously, the vineyards are all between 400 and 800 meters high.
What's the alcohol percent?
13 probably. No, really more.
13 it says on the.
13. So you have a rich, very concentrated wine, but it has a very good acidity in the finish. So the idea with the Doma is to avoid it making malolactic, to keep the acidity, to keep the freshness. When you go to the second wine, Kosh, here this wine goes through 100% malolactic. With Kosh, the idea is really to get more and more Burgundian in its style. Having a wine which is obviously rich, but what I'm looking really into this wine is the lightness of it and the freshness of it. Even though this wine has gone malolactic, it has no buttery character whatsoever. It actually is more mineral and almost feels lighter than the Doma. And it's much longer on the aftertaste. This spent 12 months in wood, probably something like 30% new wood, and then 6 months in stainless steel before bottling, and it's bottled without filtration, without anything.
I'm sorry, the blends, are those the same as the blends in like white port?
Yep. So there is a big difference. White port, for making white port, Malvasia fina is a fantastic variety. For wine, it's a terrible variety. So that's one big difference. There is no Malvasia here, while in the port there is a lot of.
But they are mostly port varietals.
Yeah.
And so that's the inspiration, in a way.
Well, I don't know if they are port varieties. They are very good varieties for making wine as well, but they are very good for making port, except for Malvasia, which is very good for port, but not good. It's many use Malvasia for making wine, but I personally don't like it.
Is it the same varietals in Italy? Doesn't like in America?
Like what?
Is it the same varietal they have in Italy and Malvasia?
I don't think so,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. The difference between this, in terms of varieties, this is extremely old vineyards. So we're talking about old vineyards over 100 years old, and there's probably about 30% of it that is grown on granitic soil. Granite tends to make wines which are a bit sharper, more austere, less friendly, but keep the acidity. And you can feel that maybe it helps giving this wine this freshness.
Is there a big difference, like geographically, between the vineyards where you source the Kosh to the Renoma or no?
No. It's very similar. It's just they are, all of them are on the edge of the demarcation. And so you can have, here is demarked, on that side it's not, and usually the logic is if it's schist, it's Dodo, if it's not schist, it's not Dodo. But many of them are on the border. So it's actually very similar. What makes the difference probably is really the age of the vineyard. And the winemaking is exactly the same, except that here we allow to make it malolactic, or we want it to do malolactic, while the other one we don't. Having said that, we have to be very careful to pick it at the right time, or maybe even a bit earlier than the right time, whatever that means, to be sure that it doesn't get buttery and heavy with the malolactic. This is a bit of the problem of the hot climate Chardonnays. Getting very buttery and very intense, and this is exactly what I don't want this to be. And 2011 is a very hot year for us, so it was not easy to get this freshness in the wine. I think we did a very good job with the Koch. I'm personally not so happy with the Doma, but having said that, 80% of the people usually prefer the bigger riper wines. As I was telling before, I'm glad to be in an area that is hot, because if I would be in a cool area, I would probably make only wine that nobody would buy. So the good thing is I can't make every year what I would like to do, but at least I can sell the wines.
What would you like to do if you had the opportunity?
What I'm doing now in Bairrada, which is a much cooler climate and is chalky soil, and making wines which have a much steelier, more reductive style of wine, lighter, 12% alcohol, something like that, and just sharper wines. I really like high acidity and a bit of steeliness, reductiveness. So the next question is, will we be able to sell those wines or not? I'm making them. But I'm very proud of this. So it's very funny. I was saying that in the Douro, I'm used to having people working with me that tend to want to pick the grapes much later than me, and they usually all go by analysis. And so it's always a fight pushing everything forward. In Bairrada, the first year, Bairrada is a wine area south of Porto. The winemaker was used to pick also very late. And the first year it worked out. I pushed him to pick earlier. In 2013, since I pushed him. So we ended up making wines which are extremely high in acid. And sort of his favorite wine is a wine that in fact has only 9.5 alcohol and 14 acidity. So it's literally undrinkable for anybody, even for champagne people. And he tastes it, this is good, this has good acidity. No, this is not good acidity. It's very high acidity. So we'll put that and make some sparkling wine out of it and see what happens. But no, but I do like acidity, and I think acidity is the spine of the body. You can only have a lot of muscles if you have a strong spine. So it's a combination. You have to have acidity, otherwise the heaviness will be just heavy. So it's always a combining thing. Any more questions?
When did you start your white wine program?
In 95. Yeah. It was terrible conditions. In fact, I bottled the 96 at the same time in Gaia, so the wines travels 100 miles to be bottled. And basically, our white wine was very famous for one reason, is because everybody else was making such bad wines that someone making something a little bit better was fantastic. But in fact, I opened a 5-liter bottle, thinking that, well, let's empty them because nobody's going to drink it. And there were a few people from America, some Japanese, and some I don't know what. And it was quite incredible because we finished the whole bottle. It looked a little bit oxidized, but it tasted good. And the more air it got, the better it was. So life could be worse. No, but I think the wines we are making now are much finer and much better than what we used to do. But in those days, if I think back, it was impossible to make good wine. And when I taste 91 red wine, under which conditions it was made, it's a fantastic wine. It's a bit rustic, but it's really fun to drink. So shall we go to Vertiente? We take the Vertiente to the white wine. Okay.
Larger stem.
No, smaller. So we take next the red wine, a smaller glass.
Thanks.
John. You okay right there?
Holding up the building. Holding up the building.
Thank you.
Elmer drilling.
Never had this many people in here.
That's kind of shady.
No. I'm sure we're fine.